Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Yes, we are here. That is The Matrix song, in case you're wondering. And it is available for licensing at Pond 5. If you like, I have some people out there, oh, you should, where do you get that from? That's AI, blah, blah, blah. No, we do use a lot of AI. And all of that's copyrighted by me, too. Anyway, that's what's happening. I can never get this camera right. So we're going to go right to, let's see if it will work. So if you're on the audio, you're going to see this. If you're on the video, you're going to see this, right? If you're on the audio, you're going to hear it. Video, you're going to see this. And this is episode 2. Not done editing it yet, but I wanted to get it to you. This is episode 2 of Ancient Safety Professionals.
Among the most mysterious discoveries of the ancient safety tribes were large banners suspended above work sites. These banners often displayed a sacred number. Scholars believe these signs served both ceremonial and spiritual purposes. The ancient people appeared convinced that displaying the number publicly would ward off injuries, accidents, and regulatory inspections. Evidence suggests entire organizations became devoted to protecting the sacred number. When incidents occurred, rituals often followed, meetings were conducted, root causes were reassigned, terminology was adjusted, and in some cases, injuries vanished entirely from official records. Researchers now believe the zero incident banner did not actually prevent injuries. Instead, it may have prevented reporting. Archaeologists discovered that many safety leaders of the period measured success not by risk reduction, but by numerical purity. The lower the number, the greater the praise from upper management. Some organizations reportedly achieved 0 by discouraging workers from reporting injuries at all. Others transformed recordability itself into a sacred legal debate.
Don't go to the clinic. You'll ruin the numbers.
The ancient tribes appeared obsessed with maintaining appearances. Entire ceremonies were dedicated to celebrating injury-free milestones. Workers received pizza, executives received bonuses. Meanwhile, near misses, fatigue, understaffing, deferred maintenance, and production pressure quietly accumulated beneath the surface. Some historians now compare these banners to protective talismans, symbols intended to reassure leadership that danger had been defeated. But archaeological evidence suggests the hazards remained fully operational. The workers still fell, the machines still failed, the systems still drifted. Only the reporting changed. Modern scholars remain divided. Were the ancient safety professionals genuinely attempting to improve safety? Or had parts of the profession become trapped in what historians now call safety theater?
And you can catch that on Safety Wars. The channel on YouTube is Ancient Safety Professionals. I don't know. What did you think? Some people love them. Some people don't. And it may be hitting a little bit too close to home for some folks out there. And, it's just the way it is. Safety theater. We all have that to contend with. Every organization out there. Every organization out there has, we have to have reports. We understand TRIR, OSHA 300. We get it. We're not saying those numbers aren't important. Far from it. Those numbers are very important. Right? Legally, we have to keep track of them. Some of us by contract have to keep track of them. But the big thing is, with this stuff, people, they make very nice presentations. Isn't it wonderful how, how we can have these nice presentations and everything else, and it's, we think that we're going to be able to predict where our next problem is. But what we see out there, and if you've ever played craps, yes, or dice, doesn't matter whether it's in whether it's in Atlantic City or Vegas, choose your poison, where I grew up, basically in Atlantic City. And what we found out, what I found out early on, my dad says, "Hey, Jim, you got to play the trend. Play the trends on the what do you call it? The roulette wheel or the craps, because those trends are going to be the ones that dictate exactly what where you're going to be." So, for example, let's pick roulette. So roulette, you have a wheel, right? And it goes around. You have black and red, and then you have usually one or two green spots with a little ball that you put it around. It goes, around and around and around. And basically, because you have the green ones there, it doesn't really work out for this. You get 50% of the time black. It's actually like 49%, and 49% red. All right. I think that's 56, but it doesn't matter. So you go back and forth. So they have, on the side of the roulette table, you have what the previous, I think it's 10 numbers were. So we all know when you flip a coin, it's going to be 50% heads or 50% tails. And what we find out is that you're not going to get black heads, tails, tails, or in this case, black, red, black, red, black, red. You're going to see black, 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 red, red, black, red, black, and you're going to see a trend. And when you see a trend in this roulette wheel going back and forth, now you know if you're going to bet on black, right, because you have multiple, right, places that you could bet, multiple ways you could bet. But basically, if you wanted to play red or black, you would, on there, you would say, oh, well, we have 3 blacks, so I'm going to put it on black because I'm more likely to get black because we have a trend going here. Or vice versa with red, or you could go, if it's going back and forth, you don't know what the hell to do. And of course, the house always wins. In this case, the injury always wins, or the catastrophe, or the accident and everything else. And it's our job as safety professionals to have enough resiliency, enough capacity in the system that when it comes out not our way, we are able to fail safely with that. Does that now make sense? Where I'm going with this, now we're able to fail safely. Organizations that I work with, they think that they could go and they could collect all this data. We're going to make a nice trend line. We're seeing all these hand injuries, so therefore we have to concentrate on hand injuries. And you do. But but what ends up almost every time happening is your next injury, you're concentrating on hand injuries. Your next injury is not going to be a hand injury. And maybe a foot injury. And then you go into, now we're going to concentrate on feet. And it's not just one foot injury. You get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them thrown in there. Same thing if you have any type of situation. It seems like you get up to a certain point, and then all of a sudden you get 3 or 4 different things going on at one time. Don't know. I've never gotten a really good explanation as far as why that happens, but it seems to be that way. So you could be going, and it doesn't have to be the same one. You could be going for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then all of a sudden, you have a whole bunch of problems that come to the forefront all at one time. That's the way life is. That's the way safety is. So what's my point here is this. You're better off with all this stuff. Just going out there, doing your job, try to track the trends where you can, try to do look at every job, see what the hazards are, try to figure out systems, set up systems and everything else so we can help you do that. 845-269-5772. And that's where we're at. And what happens is you get, I dare say, complacent a little bit. Oh, we're doing good. We haven't had an injury and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, you get 3 or 4. Well, what does that mean? It may mean nothing to your whole system. You may just have a trend of bad luck here. You may have where everything goes completely. There could be a million reasons why. Workplace stress. It could be problems at home. It could just be one of those "woof no happens" moments. And I know that management doesn't want to hear that. "Woof no happens," but that's what happens. And then what happens? Well, you're not such a good safety person, are you? You're not such a good manager. You're not good workers because all of a sudden you're having all these injuries. And we got to get to the bottom of that. We need to find out why. We got to fix it. And this is what happens here with that, with the thing. They're treating people as machines. They're treating people like a problem to be fixed. What's wrong with you? You had all these injuries. You had all these accidents. Rather than going out there and finding out, and, people who work with me know this about me. What's the context of what we're dealing with here? Well, Jim, what do you mean? Well, what's the context? What context are we dealing with here? Let's find out all the issues that led to this. Not just one, not just 2, not just 3. Right? And recently got into a situation where, not on the project I'm working on now, but on a previous project, well, there's a problem with the worker. He has a pre-existing condition. What the hell is he doing here? Fitness for duty. He's really fit for duty, blah, 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 blah. And shame on him. He didn't disclose his pre-existing condition. And, but nobody else with that condition would ever disclose it with that. And it's just another way of blaming the employee. Deflecting attention away from management. And then they wonder why people despise the safety professionals. You could be the best person in the world, the best safety person in the world, best HOP professional in the world. You could be Todd Conklin. But because everybody goes out there and has these old systems and these old things and everything else that they're dealing with, systems 35, 40 years old, and you have a thing where they blame the employee, and we need to have the 5 whys and everything else on that. It's, why are we blaming everybody? That's my point here with that. And then, they blame you. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to
from Feature Story News in San Francisco,
what we're going to do here is go to Feature Story News, in case you didn't know. And I'll come back and I'm going to illustrate this for you.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. and Iran have reached an agreement to extend the ceasefire and open nuclear talks, according to the American news outlet Axios. However, U.S. President Trump reportedly still needs to agree to the plan. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
According to Axios, both sides have reached an agreement, but it still needs sign-off from the US President Donald Trump. That agreement would see a 60-day period during which the ceasefire would be extended and negotiations on some of the most difficult issues would begin in earnest. During that 60 days, shipping in the Strait of Hormuz would be unrestricted, and Iran would have to remove the mines within the first month. And in return, the US naval blockade against Iranian ports would be lifted gradually. Both sides would spend the 60 days discussing Iran's nuclear program, what happens to its enriched uranium, and how the US can provide sanctions relief and unfreeze Iranian funds. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
The U.S. Justice Department has opened an investigation into E. Jean Carroll, the writer who successfully sued President Trump for sexual abuse and defamation. The probe centers on whether Carroll lied under oath about who was paying her legal bills. Carroll accused Trump of sexually assaulting her in a New York department store dressing room in the 1990s, allegations Trump has denied, saying he's never met her. Federal juries sided with Carroll in 2 civil cases, awarding her a combined $88 million. Now the DOJ is looking at a 2022 deposition in which the 82-year-old author said no one was covering her legal fees. Court records later showed LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, a Trump critic, had helped fund some of those costs. Federal prosecutors are examining whether that discrepancy amounts to perjury. The probe is the latest in a series of Justice Department inquiries targeting the president's opponents. The European Union is set to deploy more extensive trade defenses as it looks to protect key industries from Chinese imports. European commissioners are convening on Friday to discuss the risks posed by China's trade policies. FSN's William Denzelo reports from Brussels.
The EU's Industry Commissioner Stéphane Séjourné says China poses an existential threat to industries, including metals, clean technology and chemicals. Faced by what the EU deems as unfair competition, the Commission's working on safeguard clauses that will involve quotas on imports with tariffs imposed when those limits are reached. Séjourné says this isn't a break with China, but a rebalancing. Beijing's described the move as trade protectionism. William Denslow, Brussels.
From Euros Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, hearing once again today from Tom Fletcher, the United Nations top humanitarian aid official who is charged with the extraordinarily complicated task of trying to bring sufficient assistance to Gaza. Yesterday we heard about the ups and downs of being allowed by the Israelis to bring urgently needed materials into the territory. There have been some gains in recent weeks, but also still some significant roadblocks. But Mr. Fletcher is also charged with overseeing how to deal with all the rubble and unexploded ordnance left after the Israelis laid waste to Gaza.
While I was there, I was seeing the scale of that job, because you're clearing out lots of dead bodies from the rubble and away from the roads, but you're also then trying to clear the unexploded ordnance from underneath those buildings. And people are going back and putting their tents on the rubble, and so we're getting lots of injuries as a result of that. We haven't moved properly to that phase 2, where we can really talk about even early recovery, as we call it in the business, and proper reconstruction. And we hear a lot of talk about Rivieras and so on. Gaza, let me be absolutely clear, is not a Riviera right now.
He says the Trump administration deserves credit for increasingly assisting the United Nations as it goes about its work in Gaza, which is not something you often hear about from Washington. But on the ground, some kind of working relationship does appear to be advancing. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. The U.S. and Iran reportedly reach an agreement to extend the ceasefire and open nuclear talks. The U.S. Justice Department has opened an investigation into E. Jean Carroll, the writer who successfully sued President Trump for sexual abuse and defamation. And the EU is set to deploy trade defenses as it looks to protect key industries from Chinese imports. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer reporting.
Thank you very much. So what we're going to do here, we're going to play Safety Taro, because I think we could piece together an accident investigation and a prediction better than what these trends do with behavior-based safety. What do you say we give it a try? So I have out 10 cards here with this. So we're going to take you through a whole accident process. And we're going to use the tarot cards as a illustration. So our first card that we pick off our deck is the Fool. The Fool may represent a new worker, overconfidence, lack of orientation, it'll be fine, taking shortcuts. This is your first day on the job. This is somebody in the Jens Rasmussen knowledge mode or lack of knowledge mode, right? Then you have that coupled with our next card. It's called the Devil. And here we go, the Devil. This represents production pressure. Greed. It could be greed, schedule pressure, cutting corners, management coercion, perverse and unsafe incentives. You might say, hey, the project is behind schedule, get the lead out of your ass. Then you have another one. It's usually a very positive one. Here we have. It is called the Three of Pentacles. Construction work itself. This is actually a positive construction and workmanship card, meaning that you're a tradesman, you're building, teamwork, skilled labor. But in the reverse, it could be coordination failure, subcontractor confusion, poor planning, all of that stuff. And it all depends on how you want to read that. With that, it could be positive, it could be negative, but it is part of your capacity. The next one, the Seven of Swords. What does that represent? Shortcutting and deception. Hiding problems, faking inspections, because there's an incentive for that. Bypassing procedures, signing off without checking things. Someone pencil whipping things, right? With that, not paying attention. And then you have the whole thing, the Wheel of Fortune. Luck is running out. It represents variability, unstable conditions, reliance on chance, random things, the trend line that we just talked about. The side has survived on luck. And now you have the actual event. It's a big reveal card. The Tower. That represents some kind of catastrophe, like the Tower of Babel. Collapse, explosion, crane failure, a cave-in, a structural failure. That's the big reveal. And then you have the next card, card number 7, if you're looking at things. The Ten of Swords. Those are your consequences. Could be a fatality. It could be a catastrophe. But what does the Ten of Swords represent? Irreversible consequences. Betrayal by the system. Total failure. Right? This is we had the warning signs, but we ignored them. Because it's one thing to have all these trends, all these things. Now, what do you do with all that data? That data, oh, we don't like that data. We got to ignore it. Or, we didn't hear that one. Or the other one, this is a situation. You got health insurance? Yeah, well, we're going to put on your private health insurance at the back gate. Don't worry, we'll cover your deductible. Or like a union BA that told me they have a union help program for mental health and addiction, and close to 90% of the people there get that apply through the union, and not too many people go through the union because they feel that they don't want to be blacklisted. May or may not be true, probably not true. And they go in there and they say, hey, we get them at work because we can't afford to take off because we only work 6 months out of the year. And guess what? We can't afford to take off for a whole host of reasons. So guess what? They give us painkillers. We go on our way. Well, where do they get the painkillers? Well, I don't know. Could be getting them from anywhere. So now you get to card number 8. Here, card number 8. The ending card. Justice. OSHA, that could be OSHA arrives, insurance company arrives, the police and law enforcement arrive, and everything. What does that represent? Investigations, accountability, citations, lawsuits, and indictments. Right? And what does the tarot card reader say with this? I see many depositions. And that probably is, right? With that, I'm going to get calls from a lot of my religious people out there. And I'm only using this for entertainment purposes here. However, that you'll probably get a more accurate situation from a deck of cards with a lot of this stuff than you will from actually collecting statistics, especially when you collect the statistics and you ignore them and you don't know exactly what the hell you're looking at. And that's my second monologue for tonight. And I thought, you know, I've been putting around this idea for a long time, and I just wanted to make sure that we covered it. So that's what I got going on here.
Safety Wars is streaming now. SafetyFM.com.
Have you listened or watched the Safety War show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Bolzel and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives and some information that you might be interested in.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above.
Actually, we're not going to do that one. With that, Right, we're reworking a lot of these songs and stuff, so that's what we're doing.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do this commercial live here with this. So what you're seeing on your screen is a symposium on reality shift, an observational symposium. You can go on over to safetyfm.com and click on Hub Events, right? Events. And that'll bring you on over, and the website is viewstub.com / or / or whatever kind of slash it is, right? Reality shift, an observational symposium And this is a live in-person event in Orlando, Florida on July 13th. I plan on being there. Speakers will be physically presenting on stage in the room with you. There's no virtual attendance or live stream available with that. And now my wife has graced me with I'm allowed to go. Well, you're going to say, why not? Well, because that's a very special day for her. The concept is this is not a workshop, a certification course, or debate. It's a one-day strictly live in-person symposium designed for professionals who want to step back from the daily doing to focus on deep thinking. This is not a rehash of the old HOP versus VBS arguments in the past. We're not here to watch frameworks fight for dominance or debate which is model is superior. We're here for synthesis. Because most of the organizations out there, almost all of them, I would say, are somewhere in the middle here. They are neither behavior-based safety or HOP. And I tell you what, if you're going to make behavior-based safety work, you have to have the leadership of HOP. Now, just to let you know, you may be looking for some old episodes. We removed old episodes. We're going to be re-releasing them and redoing them. Looking back, I understand. We're getting better here all the time. At least I would hope that we're getting better here all the time. I said, where the hell else are you going to play safety tarot here? Nowhere, right? You're going to see that here. So who's going to be there? It's going to be 3 speakers here. Let me get the share. We all know Todd Conklin. If you're listening to all the other Safety FM shows, you've heard of Todd Conklin, all right? One of the leaders of human organizational performance. You have Nick Weatherly. I've heard of him. I've heard him speak a couple of times. I've met him with that, right? But what's he going to talk about? Providing the behavior lens, looking at the mechanics of a human action within the systems. And on screen, there's going to be a visual disruption. We will transition to a private screening of a high-concept documentary. This immersive film serves as a visual metaphor for the illusions of control and systemic friction in complex organizations. And live on stage, we have the signal integration. Jay Allen, PhD, closes the day by bridging these foundational frameworks. Now, even though we're gonna, no matter where I go, I try to have fun. Now, everyone knows that I like to try to keep it light, have a good time, and everything else. But this is not going to be a big, no alcohol here, no alcohol here. Even outside, I've been to a couple of events with Jay, and there's really no alcohol at any of them. And it's going to be a professionally focused event, right? And I tell you what, I'm going to be there. If you're interested, come and say hello there. And again, we're going to go here and say, I keep forgetting to share this here, right? There's going to be a pre-recorded thing here, or a cinematic experience. And it sounds like, I believe this is going to be like a dinner theater kind of thing, except we're having lunch and refreshments. They're not included in the price there. But there we are, Monday, July 13, 2026. Check us out on safetyfm.com. And, now let's go back to the news. Now, this is a new thing here, right? U.S. Department of Labor announces 2026 National Disability Employment Awareness Month theme. U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy announced today that this year's National Disability Employment Awareness Month theme will be celebrating value and talent, carrying the spirit of last year's celebration forward through 2026 in honor of America's 250th birthday. Right, observed each October, NDAM highlights the skills and contributions Americans with disabilities add to the nation's workplaces, communities, and economy. This year's observance will play an important role in the department's year-long celebration of the American worker in support of the nationwide Freedom to 50 initiative. Americans with Disabilities have been part of our nation's success from the very start. Going on and on, I tell you what, with that, probably the most famous person with a disability was one of the more. A lot of people have done great things, but back in the day, the only person of note that they put out there, two people. One, Helen Keller, who also, according to Instagram, had a great professional wrestling career. And that's a joke, but, a little controversial. But that's true. According to Instagram, was a professional wrestler. And the other one was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was president. And you had things here and there with people, and those are this. Believe me, being with my situation, looking up to Stacy Keach, the Reverend Jackson, and things of that nature. Now Joaquin Phoenix for people who are young now. Looking at those are the high-profile people with my situation, but you'd be amazed because we're safety people. We get told this, amazed of the people's disabilities out there, and there are many, many different disabilities, more than what I can name here and on this show, that people have here, and doing some great work out there and everything else with that. But back in the day, that's you had very few people out there with that were high profile with a visible disability. Now all over, and that's a good thing. We're more inclusive, we're doing the right thing here, and with that, and as I like to point out, it's the character, people's character on that. Now, here we have another one. So, of course, it's Thursday. And what's on Thursday is, and I'm going to point this out here, the same trend. Seasonally adjusted data for the trends for unemployment. It's all, in there between 200 and 250,000. And when you look at the seasonally adjusted insured unemployment rate, you got about 2 million people, 1.5 and 2 million people. This goes back, it goes forth. What's my point here? My point is that things are better than when you look at the numbers, things are better than what people want you to believe. Well, Jim, what do you mean? What do you mean? Dude, it's a manipulation game. All of this is a manipulation game. And you got to look past the data. And, you get feelings, you get this, you get this anxiety. Oh, well, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. What am I going to do? Okay, what are you going to do? That is a valid question with all this. But the bigger question has got to be, who's profiting off of this? Yeah, I said it. Who's profiting off of that? To whose advantage is it to keep everybody anxious? I don't care if you're dealing with a workplace, a country, a society. Who is, and I have to ask this, who is profiting off this? To who? Maybe they're not making money. Maybe whose advantage is this? To keep everybody at each other's throats. Keep them distracted with this. Keep them distracted with it. Oh, yeah, we're going to clean up the streets, and we're going to fight crime. And then 2 years or 4 years later, oh, yeah, we're going to fight crime. Well, what the hell? You didn't fight crime before. Now we're going to fight crime now? Oh, we could go the other way. Oh, we're going to clean up the environment. There's an environmental issue. We got to fight for for clean air and clean water. And that other opponent is for dirty air and dirty water. And then 40 years later, there ain't shit that's been done. Oh, yeah, I'm all fired up today, as you can see. There's nothing been done. So who's profiting off that? Who's being manipulated? Why are you being manipulated? Who profits off of that? Anyway, hold on. am on the air. We'll go after I am done. Okay. Yeah, we had a project I'm on. We were on extremely late today. So, okay, I got to edit that out on the video end because I had share screen on and I should not have had share screen on. But anyway, who's profiting from all this stuff? That's the question with that. So, we're moseying on over to the, and again, it's a holiday week. We had a holiday on Monday. I guess they haven't had time to issue press releases here. I'm not being sarcastic. That's usually the way it goes here. We're trying to get access to some other, no. We're looking into that. I figured it out. What I have to do is just a matter of doing it with this. So, where the hell do these headlines come from? Here, so we're on the EPA website here. Oh, and did you see, by the way, yeah, not in the EPA, but the HHS, Robert F. Kennedy picking up the snakes? Oh, wow. Man. Wow. Would not have been me here with the snakes. It was over somebody's house. Oh, they had snakes. I think he was over Dr. Oz's house or something. And there's some snakes. So he picks them up. Oh, look. Right? And apparently, was a rattlesnake or something, or whatever. I don't know. Or he did it, this is not the first time. And one time it was a rattlesnake. Picked it up and he was like, It's sort of like Robert Irvin. Oh, what a beauty. What a beauty. What a beauty. So here we have one. Fact check. The release of genetically engineered mosquitoes is not authorized by the EPA. I wonder who the hell came out with that one. Recent claims circulating online assert that the U.S. EPA has recently authorized the release of genetically engineered mosquitoes. Basically, the genetically engineered mosquitoes they're saying that what one of the conspiracies is, I'm not promoting it, but this is like where it's going, that the mosquitoes are a vector for Lyme disease. Yeah, they're a vector for Lyme disease. And now to spread Lyme disease, because now there's a part of, there's a protein in there that prevents you from being able to eat red meat ever again in your entire life after you get bit. And the conspiracy is that this is being done by vegan activists, right? I don't make this up. But the facts, the previously issued experimental use permit expired in 2024. So they did do it in before 2024 is what that means. No releases are currently authorized in the U.S. Okay, how about unauthorized? Are there any releases that are unauthorized? I don't know. EPA is not aware of any releases in the U.S. following the expiration of the experimental use permit. You can read that all right here. Any authorized release of constitution of the federal violation of FIFRA, the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, will be subject to an enforcement action. And I remember in graduate school, me and Jen Coffey, who was on last week. How did you like that interview, by the way? That went pretty well. I remember we had to memorize that. That was on the final exam for the former EPA Region 2 Area Administrator, Bill Labrisi. He was one of our professors. That was on his final exam. Explain what FIFRA is. Okay, okay, Bill. We could do it. We called him Bill. Okay, Bill, let's do this. Rest in peace, by the way. Here we have EPA withdraws Biden-era 2023 affirmative defense rule, restoring protections for energy and manufacturing facilities. U.S. EPA today withdrew the 2023 Biden EPA affirmative defense rule to comply with a federal court mandate. So what the argument is here from them is that, hey, there was a lawsuit, and we're complying with the lawsuit. Don't look at us. to comply with a federal court mandate and restore long-standing protections for manufacturers, energy producers, and other facilities that exceed emissions limits due to unavoidable events such as equipment malfunctions or natural disasters. The withdrawal reinstates a framework that distinguishes between liability for noncompliance and situations where noncompliance occurs as a result of circumstances beyond a facility's control. The Trump EPA will continue to hold bad actors accountable for enforcement violations, but will no longer unjustly punish good faith operators for emissions caused by sudden, unavoidable events. And this is a quote from EPA Assistant Administrator Aaron Szabo. For decades, EPA regulations acknowledge that even well-run facilities can experience unavoidable events. As part of the Biden administration's war on energy manufacturing and cost of living, they reversed course and attacked the industry for emissions that weren't their fault. Today's action restores a balanced, common-sense framework that protects both the environment and the continued viability of American manufacturing and production. In 2023, the Biden administration removed the affirmative defense provisions from the federal air permitting regulations for stationary sources known as Title V permits. I think we covered that story here. This exposed facilities to liability when operators took all reasonable steps to prevent and mitigate emissions during events they could not have reasonably prevented. These liabilities had the ability to increase operating costs, which could then be passed on to American families through high energy and household good prices. I don't think they're going to lower their prices. And here's the background. In 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit in the SM's litigation group versus EPA decisions reversed the Biden EPA's 2023 affirmative defense rule. Therefore, the Trump EPA's withdrawal today is necessary to carry out the court's mandate and restore EPA's long-standing regulations to how they existed before the 2023 affirmative defense rule. So, again, there's a whole bunch of stuff in background there. Go and check it out if that applies to you. Okay. And Administrator Elise Zeldin wraps up two-day trip to Utah, advancing Trump administration's priorities. U.S. EPA Administrator Elise Zeldin traveled to Utah last week for a two-day trip, advancing various EPA priorities in the state. On Friday, May 22nd, 2026, Zeldin joined Utah Governor Spencer Scott at his Operation Gigawatt Summit in Park City, Utah. The Operation Gigawatt Summit focused on bringing together policymakers, industry stakeholders, and others focused on the future of energy production in the U.S. The two participated in a fireside chat where they discussed the various ways the Trump EPA continues to work with our state and local partners to protect the environment and grow the economy. At the conclusion of their remarks, Zeldin and Cox held a media availability with the local press. Afterwards, Zeldin met with the Mountain Regional Water staff and toured their Signal Hill Water Treatment Plant. The facility received $38 million in WIFRA loan funding to plan, design, and to construct improvements to increase treatment capacity and implement new treatment processes. So it goes on here with that, and I tell you what, the man does a lot of traveling here. I'll say that much. Administrator Zeldin. He's all over the place. Well, Trump had a mandate when he came in for the Department of Labor and also the EPA not to get the hell out of the office, to go and do things, meet with the public, promotions, and they largely achieved that. Laura Chavez the Reamer, she had an issue with that, but anyway, she's not there anymore. Now we have Keith Sonderling, who does follow us, to my knowledge. Hello, Secretary Sonderling, acting secretary. I hope that becomes permanent. All right, so here's an article from The Hill here, and we're trying not to be in panic mode here. An Ebola outbreak in the Congo is fast outpacing containment efforts in the region as questions and concerns mount in the U.S. over the Trump administration's preparedness and response. Health experts are warning that the Ebola could be more difficult to contain than any in the past. The rare strain of the virus has caused nearly 1,000 suspected cases and more than 220 suspected deaths in the Congo and 70 cases with one death in neighboring Uganda. The outbreak is already the third largest in history, and the World Health Organization has declared it a public health emergency. Of international concern, there are currently no approved vaccinations or treatments. It's from the Hill article by Nathaniel Weichsel. The CDC has said the risk of Ebola spreading to the American public remains low. Still, the Trump administration has cracked down on international travelers and has taken steps to ensure Americans infected or exposed to the virus remain overseas. That's pretty fouled up. Hopefully they're getting, I tell you what, according to sources here, and this is in the article in The Hill, but this is also elsewhere from official sources, that they're training public health service officers to go over to Congo and treat them elsewhere. I guess that's a good idea because you really don't want this stuff coming over here like we did with Hunter virus here. And apparently the COVID virus. By the way, there was a report. We're going to do a deep dive into that report on COVID-19. There was a congressional report recently released. I wasn't prepared for that because I actually got to read the report. It's actually very, very comprehensive with that. And I tell you what, a lot of people, we exceeded the statute of limitations of criminal stuff. Now they're going civil here with that. And, what's the difference in the United States? A criminal conviction is beyond a reasonable doubt. And civil is the preponderance of the evidence, meaning are you 51% sure someone is guilty, right? Different thing, and it's rarely ever. I mean, have there been people gone to jail with civil cases? Yeah, when they committed perjury and with stuff like that, and they commit a crime while they're in the process. But really, it does not happen civilly. It's financial. What happens when your employer, this is from the New York Times, knows the diseases you might get? Predictive medicine advances, legal scholars warn that decades-old federal guidelines could set up a potential class between your genes and your job. And the article is by Emily Baumgartner Nunn. By the way, Baumgartner, very, very popular name there. My father knew the Baumgartner family in Carteret. They used to own, I don't know if they still do, a warehouse, a hardware store. But anyway, imagine this scenario. At a routine visit, your doctor administers a new genetic test that shows you have a usually elevated risk of a heart attack in the future. You're in shape, you feel fine, but the prediction is in your DNA. The next day you tell your employer your doctor wants you to make some adjustments, switch to a less physically taxing role, or maybe lower your stress levels in an event to save your life. Can your boss legally deny you of these accommodations? And the answer is yes. That's because the federal rules designed to protect against employment and insurance discrimination based on genetics are not written with this technology in mind. While Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008 or GINA protects workers from being fired over their genetic test results, and the Americans with Disability Act protects those with active disabilities, neither law compels an employer to provide accommodation to help mitigate a person's future health risk. So that's, right. So this is going to become a problem with all this predictive stuff. And I can tell you what, now with the, I used to say the advent of AI. Now with AI here, this is going to get very, very, very interesting. So that's what I have for tonight. I'm going to cut it right there. And, If we run under the hour, we're going to, of course, throw in the Jim Posel copyrighted music. All right? With that. And that's where we're going to go. And again, we're going to be reworking some of this stuff.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, J. Allen. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, J. Allen.